Tonight, watching tonight, does it make it almost more meaningful than just a football game?
I'm not gonna say meaningful. We've already spoken like 3 times today. We just got off the phone joking and clowning like crazy. But he's so prepared right now. A lot of people are approaching it like a preseason game. He's approaching like a game. And that's how he's always approached everything, to prepare and to approach it like this is it. I just can't wait to see him get down tonight. But it's gonna be a little weird. It's gonna be a little strange. It's gonna be a problem after the night, though, I promise you that.
Deion Sanders' explosive reaction to Kevin Stefanski's head-scratching decision to start Dillon Gabriel over Shedeur Sanders was more than an emotional rant, it was a pointed warning. The truth is simple, Cleveland needs Shedeur far more than Shedeur needs Cleveland. Yet Stefanski risked the future of the franchise as if it were nothing more than pocket change. This wasn't a debate over raw talent, it was a matter of vision, leadership, and respect. By benching the one quarterback capable of lifting the Browns to a new level, Stefanski turned himself into the problem this team simply cannot afford.
Son, I love you. We've been on this journey, boy. We got the Lord on our side, son. We set it up like this, buddy. God is so good, so faithful. He presented this opportunity to you, and no one else. So I want you to go out there and make them remember your last name. Take your time, hold the ball, get rid of it. Completions. We want completions. Enough completions, we're gonna run out of field. But mostly, I just want you to do you. Do your thing. Just because you only get on stage doesn't mean it ain't gonna be the same thing. You know who you are.
If you're enjoying, please subscribe Shedeur Sanders to the channel. It helps more than you think. Deion Sanders didn't just speak up, he exploded. When Kevin Stefanski convinced himself it was brilliant to start Dillon Gabriel over Shedeur Sanders, the football world didn't just question it, they groaned in disbelief, rolling their eyes so far back it was almost painful. Dion wasn't going to let that nonsense pass, and the verbal flamethrower he unleashed turned Stefanski's clipboard into more of a comedy prop than a serious tool of NFL strategy, making the decision look downright embarrassing.
I got a serious question for these fake-ass Dillon Gabriel fans. Are y'all genuinely Dillon Gabriel fans, or y'all just don't like Shedeur and don't want to see him win that job or succeed at all?
For decades, the Cleveland Browns have been less of a football team and more of a running soap opera. Time and again, they've managed to take a talented roster, a loyal fan base, and a glimmer of real hope, and still trip over themselves the moment it counts. Kevin Stefanski, despite his reputation for football smarts, just showed he might be the main character in this ongoing comedy of errors. The reality is simple, Shedeur Sanders isn't just one of Cleveland's quarterback options, he's the option. He's the rare kind of player who can drag a franchise out of irrelevance and throw them straight into prime time. Passing on that for Dillon Gabriel isn't a small misstep, it's outright malpractice.
Browns is not changing their depth chart when it comes to the quarterback. They're going to have Joe Flacco be starting, Kenny Pickett be second string, none other than Dillon Gabriel third and Shedeur fourth, which lead me to believe if they was to get rid of quarterback, it's going to more than likely be Shedeur.
Deion Sanders made sure the message rang loud and clear. He didn't filter it, he didn't sugarcoat it, he delivered it like scripture. The Browns need Shedeur Sanders far more than Shedeur will ever need them. Shedeur's future is already etched in gold, whether Cleveland is wise enough to recognize it or not. He's the one with the star power, the swagger, and the magnetic brand that can transform not just a roster, but an entire city. Meanwhile, the Browns are still stuck trying to convince the world they aren't cursed. And then comes Stefanski, in all his supposed brilliance, choosing to push Shedeur aside as if he were just another body on the depth chart. That's not just short-sighted, it's peak Cleveland, the textbook example of how to grab defeat when victory is within reach.
Acumen on the field.
Well, his nickname in my phone, and most of you know this, follows us, is Grown. He's very mature. Grown, Grown. He's very mature for his age. He's very confident. He don't flinch. He never gets flustered. He's the most sacked quarterback in college football, and you can tell with the way he carry himself.
Dillon Gabriel, with all due respect, just isn't the answer. He's reliable, steady, and capable of putting up a respectable box score, but he's not the kind of quarterback who transforms a franchise. He's the guy who keeps you competitive on Sunday, only to be forgotten by Monday. And Cleveland doesn't need reliable. Cleveland needs electrifying. They need a quarterback who not only delivers wins but also gives the fan base a reason to believe in something bigger. That's Shedeur Sanders. He's the headline, the culture shift, the spark that puts a city back on the national stage. Yet Stefanski chose to sideline all of that in favor of the safe, comfortable embrace of mediocrity.
And I think he proved he can play in this league. And I know it's preseason action, but let's not forget the manner in which he was born into this league and the manner in which he spent the first few weeks in camp. But I think what he accomplished is that whoever is playing quarterback for the Cleveland Browns in the regular season will get booed until he starts. I think
Interesting.
that is what he accomplished.
That's why Dion went nuclear. Because this wasn't just about football, it was about vision. Coaches like Stefanski love to play it safe, to cling to proven options, as if safety wins championships. It doesn't. Safety gets you fired. Vision wins championships. Taking the leap on a generational talent like Shedeur Sanders, giving him the keys to a franchise desperate for relevance, that's vision. But Stefanski blinked. Without him, they're just another middle-of-the-pack team, hoping their defense bails them out while the offense limps along. With him, they become must-watch TV. Fans don't just support teams anymore, they invest in personalities. They rally behind figures who feel bigger than the game. Shedeur is that figure. Dillon Gabriel? He's a placeholder. And you don't build legacies with placeholders.
At the end of the day, they will go with Joe Flacco. The question is how are they going to keep 4 quarterbacks on their roster? Because Dillon Gabriel did look good, although if Shedeur had the turnovers that Gabriel had, people would have been sending him to Canada.
Factual.
That said, the only thing I think Shedeur has accomplished with what he did against the Panthers is I believe it accomplished him to say, I hear all the noise and I'm going to
It's hilarious how Stefanski doesn't see the math here. Because this isn't just about what Shedeur Sanders can do on the field, it's about what he represents off it. Cleveland is a city starving for relevance. They've tasted a little success but never enough to feel full. Shedeur Sanders brings the meal, the dessert, and the champagne. He brings eyeballs, sponsorships, national coverage, cultural clout. Dillon Gabriel brings box scores and polite applause. He made it clear that Stefanski's decision wasn't just wrong, it was embarrassing. Because how do you sell your fan base on hope when you bench the player who represents it? How do you convince people you're building for the future when you choose a quarterback who already feels like the past? Stefanski didn't just miss the boat, he refused to board it while it was docked right in front of him.
Listen, I think he's done an amazing job from the day that he's got there. I think he is, he's unique. He beats to his own drum. He's going to be different than a lot of guys that you're going to see around the league. But, the one thing, knowing his family, knowing his dad for a long time, well prepared for the moment, well prepared for everything that comes with being in the NFL and playing the quarterback position. So I think for him, he's done the right thing every step of the way. At the same time, you want to continue to be yourself, right? You don't want to change what's made you great and something that's ingrained in your DNA. So I think for him, looking at it from an outside perspective, somebody that obviously has ties to Cleveland, just keep going, keep balling.
And Shedeur Sanders doesn't need to beg. That's the kicker. He doesn't need Cleveland. If they want to waste his talent, another franchise will happily scoop him up. The league is filled with teams desperate for a face of the future. If Stefanski wants to play conservative, let him. Shedeur will move on, and Cleveland will stay stuck in its eternal cycle of maybe next year. Dion made sure everyone knew this wasn't a two-way relationship. Shedeur is the prize. Cleveland is the one that has to earn him. Dion wasn't just defending his son, he was defending common sense. And the more Stefanski resisted, the more foolish he looked. Because every second Shedeur isn't on that field is a second Cleveland wastes its most valuable asset. And here's the ultimate irony, Cleveland's history is littered with what-if quarterbacks. They've had more failed experiments than a high school science fair. Every time they think they've found the answer, it crumbles into another chapter of disappointment. Shedeur Sanders is the first real shot they've had at rewriting that narrative.
Whether it's merited or not, and I think Flacco, though, can silence the boos more than any of them because of what he did when he was comeback player of the year a few years ago. And plus, I think he still got it. And that's why I think he's going to be the starter there. And the whole Dillon Gabriel business of what he said on the sidelines during this preseason contest. I believe he was talking with Aditi Kinkabwala, my longtime colleague at the NFL Network, about how he handles all of the conversations involving him in a competition with Shedeur and obviously Kenny Pickett, who didn't play either, and Flacco. This is what he had to say in response.
It's just part of it. You know, there's entertainers and there's competitors. And I totally understand that. And my job is to compete. And that's what I'm focused on doing.
And Stefanski is out here fumbling it like a rookie with butterfingers. Dion couldn't let that slide. He wasn't just calling out a bad decision, he was calling out a coach who might single-handedly doom the Browns back into irrelevance. Dion's eruption wasn't just about protecting Shedeur Sanders, it was about holding a mirror up to Kevin Stefanski and asking him a brutal question. Do you want to coach in this league to survive, or do you want to coach to win? Because if your goal is to survive, you start Dillon Gabriel. You trot out the safe, predictable, middle-of-the-road quarterback who can run your scheme without shaking things up. But if you want to win, if you want to shift the culture of a franchise that has been dragging its history like a ball and chain, you take a risk. What he doesn't realize is that the ship is already sinking, and the only one who can patch the holes and sail it into the future is Shedeur Sanders. Cleveland doesn't need steady, Cleveland needs spectacular. They don't need another game manager. They need a game changer. And every second Stefanski hides Shedeur on the bench, he's proving he doesn't understand the assignment.
Bro, why not keep running? His little ass was scared. Right, come on, he slid too early, bro. You couldn't fight for the extra yards and get out of bounds, bro. You that intimidated game. Come on, bro.
It's coming. Gabriel, right on
Another
time.
2-yard route.
Go for another Browns first down. Probably not. You did it, not me. Yeah, that's true. Third down and short. That's going to be another first down.
Check down.
Cleveland's converted now on 3 third downs. Pierre Strong making the catch. Oh, this is the first time he's ever put on an NFL uniform. On first down, timing play, and sitting down in the middle of the defense.
What, little hits? Come on, y'all. What's that, 7 yards? Come on, man.
They're absolutely battling for starting jobs on this team. First down for the 28. Gabriel all day to throw the ball. There's his first incomplete.
Dion's fury hit the truth. The Browns are desperate for relevance. They aren't competing just for playoff spots, they're competing for identity. This is a franchise that fans support out of loyalty, not excitement. And loyalty runs thin when you give them nothing to believe in. Shedeur Sanders gives them that belief. He's not just a quarterback, he's a movement. Every snap he takes is a headline. Every touchdown he throws is a reminder that Cleveland might finally matter. Dillon Gabriel? He's a footnote. He doesn't need Stefanski's approval or the Browns' validation. His talent and brand guarantee him opportunities. If Cleveland can't see that, another team will. And when Shedeur takes another franchise to prominence while Cleveland languishes, Stefanski will be remembered as the man who fumbled away a generational quarterback because he was too afraid to trust him.
When it comes to the Browns organization, do you think that they're equipped to nurture a unique talent like him?
Who knows what's going on in that building? I mean, for my time there, yeah, it was
I'm crying.
interesting experience, but you know, maybe throughout the years things have changed and they've got a little bit better handle on things.
So that's Johnny Manziel there, but he did speak about this. Them trading Baker Mayfield too.
Speak about Cleveland.
Let's see.
As much as I speak about Cleveland and always will probably have a little bit of a sour taste in my mouth with how things went, I want the best for them.
Think about the optics. Kevin Stefanski, who has already been under fire for inconsistent results, benches Shedeur Sanders in favor of Dillon Gabriel. It's not just a tactical error, it's a PR disaster. The fans don't want Gabriel. The media isn't clamoring for Gabriel. There's no excitement around him. Starting Gabriel is like releasing a new season of television starring a background extra while the actual star sits on the couch. Who's going to watch that? Who's going to buy into it? The answer, no one. Meanwhile, Shedeur Sanders represents the very thing Cleveland has been missing: hope. And not just any hope, but believable hope. The kind that comes with swagger, talent, and cultural relevance. Stefanski isn't just mismanaging a roster, he's mismanaging destiny. The cold reality is this: in the NFL, quarterbacks make or break coaches. You tie your career to the wrong one, you're gone. Stefanski has chosen Dillon Gabriel, and if that fails, it won't be Gabriel who takes the heat, it'll be Stefanski. Because the world knows Shedeur is sitting right there, waiting, capable, ready to take over.
Trying to understand, because I'm with you. Why wouldn't they be competing in practice, in preseason, to become a starter? Why wouldn't you want, if you Kevin Stefanski, and you know that a lot of this stuff is predicated on probably your job in the next couple of years, however long you last, why wouldn't you be trying, day one, if it's Kenny Pickett, Shedeur Sanders, and Dillon Gabriel, why are you not trying to find out if they can start for your football team before the season starts?
If the Browns start losing under Gabriel, the headlines won't be about the quarterback, they'll be about the coach who kept the star on the sideline. That's career suicide. Deion Sanders didn't need to say it out loud, but everyone heard it between the lines. Stefanski just put his job on a timer. And let's not sugarcoat the player comparison. Dillon Gabriel is solid, he'll make the throws, he'll run the offense, he'll keep you competitive. But he won't elevate you. He won't drag you through the mud against elite teams. He won't make fans scream in excitement or analysts trip over themselves to talk about the Browns. And Deion Sanders torched him for it. Cleveland has a history of mishandling quarterbacks. It's practically their brand. From first-round busts to free agency flops, they've turned potential into punchlines. And now, with Shedeur Sanders sitting in their lap, they're on the verge of repeating history. Stefanski had the chance to break the cycle, to finally rewrite the narrative. Instead, he doubled down on safe and steady. But safe doesn't save franchises. Safe doesn't sell hope. Safe doesn't change anything. Deion Sanders knows this, which is why his words hit with the force of a linebacker.
Yesterday's attendance for the game between the Cleveland Browns and the Philly Eagles, 69,876. That was a sold-out crowd. But the game last week, all headlines screamed 2.2 million people tuned in. And all of us, between the uncles, the aunts, and the cousins, we were all talking and we were like, there's no way. There had to be more. Ding, ding, ding. And indeed, there were. If you go and you Google and you look it up, every headline reads, the NFL Network, 2.2 million. But they didn't discuss how many people tuned in to the local affiliates at ABC, CBS, NBC, as well as Fubo, Sling, and those who were watching it on the apps.
Because here's the bottom line, Cleveland needs Shedeur Sanders. They need his talent, his energy, his presence. They need him more than he'll ever need them. Shedeur could thrive anywhere. He could step into any team desperate for a leader and instantly change the trajectory. Cleveland doesn't have that luxury. Without him, they're just another team clawing for wildcard spots and hoping to stay relevant. With him, they could become contenders, not just for games, but for culture. Deion's rage wasn't misplaced, it was prophetic. He saw what Stefanski clearly doesn't, that football has changed. They lose the chance to finally shake off decades of mediocrity. Stefanski might think he's playing it smart, but what he's really doing is playing it small. And small doesn't win in the NFL. It's almost tragic, really. Cleveland has the gift sitting right in front of them, and Stefanski treats it like a problem instead of a solution. Dion's fury came from that frustration. Because when you've raised a player like Shedeur Sanders, when you've watched him grow, seen his toughness, his poise, his ability to rise when the pressure is suffocating, you don't just sit quietly when a coach benches him for Dillon Gabriel. You speak up. You roar. You make sure the world hears the insanity for what it is.
I've seen Colin Cowherd defend college basketball coaches who have gotten a DUI, come to their defense and say they didn't need to be fired, that they deserve a second chance. But Shedeur Sanders drives 40 miles over the speed limit, gets a one-on-one ticket, and Colin Cowherd comes on his show today and says he's out on Shedeur Sanders. He's seen enough. He can't support him anymore. He can't be in the Shedeur Sanders camp because of this speeding ticket. The hypocrisy is just alive and well. It's awesome, isn't it? If I had one piece of advice to give to Shedeur Sanders, it would be this. You have to recognize that you're not going to be treated the same as the rookies who were drafted alongside you.
And now, the spotlight is brighter than ever on Stefanski. Every game Gabriel plays is a referendum on Stefanski's decision. Every loss becomes a neon sign screaming you chose wrong. Every mediocre performance digs the hole deeper. Because it's not just about Gabriel's play, it's about the absence of Shedeur Sanders. And as soon as Cleveland starts to stumble, fans will demand what Dion has already made clear: put Shedeur on the field, or put Stefanski on the hot seat. At the end of the day, this isn't complicated. That imbalance is why Dion's words carried such force. Stefanski can play his games, shuffle his depth chart, cling to his system, but all he's really doing is delaying the inevitable. Because Shedeur Sanders isn't just the future, he's the present. And the sooner Cleveland realizes that, the sooner they can escape the endless loop of disappointment.
The Browns and the Philly Eagles, 69,876. That was a sold-out crowd. But the game last week, all headlines screamed 2.2 million people tuned in. And all of us, between the uncles, the aunts, and the cousins, we were all talking, and we were like, there's no way. There had to be more. Ding, ding, ding. And indeed, there were. If you go and you Google and you look it up, every headline reads, the NFL Network, 2.2 million. But they didn't discuss how many people tuned in to the local affiliates at ABC, CBS, NBC, as well as Fubo, Sling, and those who are watching it on the apps. Because in this day and age, when something is aired, they calculate apps, they calculate local affiliates, as well as the direct network who is licensed to show it. So it was 2.2 that was reported by the NFL Network. I went and dug a little bit deeper. As it turns out, there's approximately 8.8 million people that tuned in. And the reason that number is significant, because the NFL recognized 3 million people did not watch the game yesterday. That was a nice little drop, because Shedeur Sanders was benched. Howsoever, everybody that was there in Philly paid to see, regardless. So now you kind of have to wonder if all this cryptic conversation that Kevin Stefanski has whenever he is asked a specific question about the team, his quarterback room, why we tap dance around it and we don't get a direct answer until the 11th hour.
Dion's outburst wasn't a rant, it was a warning. A warning that if Stefanski keeps playing it safe, he won't just lose games, he'll lose the locker room, the fan base, and eventually his job. Because Cleveland fans aren't blind. They know greatness when they see it, and they know mediocrity when it's forced on them. Shedeur Sanders is greatness waiting to be unleashed. Dillon Gabriel is mediocrity wrapped in a uniform. And the coach who can't tell the difference doesn't deserve to be making the decisions. That's the story. That's the roast. Kevin Stefanski can bench Shedeur Sanders all he wants, but in doing so, he's benching Cleveland's future. And when the dust settles, when the losses pile up and the pressure mounts, he'll realize too late that Deion Sanders was right all along. He could have saved himself from becoming the weekly punchline of sports talk shows. Instead, he handed the narrative to critics on a silver platter, cementing the Browns as the franchise allergic to common sense. Shedeur doesn't have to prove he belongs, he already has. It's Cleveland that has to prove it deserves him. Until Stefanski wakes up, he's just another coach writing his own firing papers with a pen dipped in bad judgment.